Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division show. An interesting night, I suppose, JP, on Monday night with Derry City playing Shamrock Rovers at Tallaght Stadium and St Patrick's Leg entertaining Shelbourne. So we'll get into them and then we'll get into some of the games on Friday and reference some of the teams that were involved. Like, for example, with Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers. We won't talk too much about Shamrock Rovers and that, but we'll talk about Dundalk. We'll start off. Um, I think we'll start off in Tallaght Stadium. Actually, JP, I was there last night, and the Shamrock Rovers did beat Derry City by a goal to nil. Johnny Kenny's early goal in that match. Graham Burke missed a penalty later on as well, but um, it was first of all, from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, I think it was a very good performance overall for Shamrock Rovers. I think a very good controlled performance. They created a lot of chance, especially in that first 20-25 minutes. Obviously, Kenny's goal after a shot from Graham Burke, which was saved by Marr, and came out, and Kenny reacts really well actually and finishes. But he had a chance before that, brilliant individual skill where Marr makes, I think Marr makes the save in the end. But he nearly scored before that. Burke misses a penalty after McJanet had taken down Kenny. I know there was a question of should have been a red, but I don't think people could really see properly. But there was a covering defender, so no red there. Penalty, I think so. Fruge had a chance as well. And I suppose from Rovers' point of view, it's a great 3 points. They would have been disappointed a little bit that they didn't kill the game because, to be honest, they should have. But from Derry's point of view, I was very disappointed in Derry because, they're 1-0 down. Rovers missed a penalty. You're expecting, some kind of a kick or something, like a real kick, a bit of urgency. There was no real urgency actually from Derry in the game. Most of the shots were kind of pot shots. I don't think Paul's had to make a save, really. As I said, Rovers did play well, but at the same time, even the last 10-15 minutes, you're thinking Rovers haven't killed the game here. It's only 1-0. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for a bit of, pressure from Derry and a bit of tempo to kind of say to yourself, geez, they could get an equaliser here. And from Derry's point of view, it never looked like happening. So it was disappointing because I think you said Derry'd win the game. I thought it'd be a draw. And I did think it was an opportunity. Dominican came in and started the game, for example, it's that first start of the season, maybe, or near enough. But maybe early on, I'm not so sure. But fairly fit squad. Obviously, Hooban was missing. But I was actually very disappointed with Derry going after the game, JP, to be honest, because it was a big, big game. And I just felt like they didn't really lay a glove on Shamrock Rovers, which was, from Derry's point of view, very disappointing.
Yeah, that was the reason I tipped there. The one that was obviously coming off the back of Friday's results.
Yeah.
I thought Derry's tails would be up, but chance to go 8 points clear. Obviously, Shamrock or St Pat's playing Shelbourne as well. There was a
Mm.
likelihood that Derry could have been top of the table. And after Monday night's games, obviously Shelbourne got the lit winner, so it wouldn't have been the case. But um, obviously the result for Shamrock Rovers on Friday night was worst case scenario for Derry because
Mm.
it probably made Rovers hungrier for the result. Made them angry, and they knew that they probably couldn't lose it. They knew they probably had to win, to be honest, to keep themselves in a some sort of title race.
Mm.
Um, Now I never seen none of the game. I was always engaged, but I saw the goal and the penalty, and a wee bit disappointing. I'm sure Brian Maher will be disappointed
Mm.
that he hasn't held on to it or got it on the safety. When they
They
flew
also
round the
gave
back,
Graham Burke a lot of space, and you just can't give Graham Burke space to shoot, can you?
you can't. And you have to give credit to Kenny because he does what every good striker does. He reacts to the follow up. He anticipates the follow up. I think Pat Hoban scored a goal similar to that
Mm.
earlier in the season. Um, at the Brandywell, might have been the Waterford game. He was on his bike before the shot even came in, and he was there to tap home um, when the keeper had spilled it. So we know what it's like to have that kind of striker. We were missing him last night. I think he was suspended, picked up
Yeah.
his fifth yellow card of the season on Friday night,
Mm.
which I thought it was a very harsh yellow card to be honest. But look, you have to take the rough with the smooth, and it's not a disaster for Derry.
No.
Losing that game, it's it's disappointing because they've lost 7 points to Shamrock Rovers this season. When you look at Rovers have dropped points to
Mm.
Galway, Dundalk twice, Waterford.
Even Pats, the way they're playing, they haven't
And
beaten
Pats
Pats.
as
Like,
well.
yeah,
They've lost when Rovers have dropped in type of points. It's disappointing from a Derry point of view that they haven't managed to get a win. Now, I
mm,
know they were so close to doing that the first time down in Tala for 55 minutes in the Brandywell. They were probably the better team. Couldn't quite get the lead goal, and
mm.
then 15 minutes of madness. Rovers took a game away from them.
I just
When
found it
I
strange,
saw the
JP, because they
performance,
tried.
saw the tech half performance against some Pats, I thought there would have been a wee bit more against Rovers, especially Patrick McElhinney back being fit. Now, I know he came off a bench, not sure whereabouts he played when he came off, but when he played on Friday night, they played further forward, done a lot of damage, especially for the winning goal. And
Mm,
it's just disappointing from a Derry point of view that they didn't lay a glove on Shamrock Rovers, especially in the last 15 minutes. You've survived an onslaught, you've survived a missed penalty, you've given
mm.
yourself a chance. They'd be still in the game and didn't really test the goalkeeper, which is disappointing. But look, you move on from it. You're 18 games in, you're 4 points behind, 2 points ahead of Shamrock Rovers.
Mm,
You take it on the chin and you try and move forward. It's the first defeat in 7. Last time they lost
mm.
was against Shamrock Rovers, so you go and try and do a similar run now moving forward,
I
leading
think
into
their
Europe.
approach and the way they played, I think if it was 0-0, you know what I mean? But they conceded an early goal, and I don't know. I just expected a bit more from them from an attacking point of view, and you know, maybe to go for a little bit more in the last 10, 15 minutes. Like, and Rovers were, it was a comfortable 1-0, but of course, when you're 1-0 up from a Shamrock Rovers point of view, you're thinking, and especially the way they've been playing, we're only 1-0 up, we've missed chances, we could get caught here. All it takes is one chance, doesn't it? One good chance. And you felt to yourself, said to yourself while you were watching it that surely Derry have something here. Like Duffy couldn't get into the game. Do you know what I mean? It's not that he was bad, he couldn't get into the game. McElhinney didn't really get into the game when he came on. It was just very, it was almost like a lethargic performance. Do you know what I mean from them? And as I said, Rovers are very good and the best they've been in weeks, to be fair. And could have won it, to be honest, 2 or 3. But the fact that it was 2-2 at Tallaght Stadium was a bit humdingerish, wasn't it? Early on in the season, there was none of that
Yeah,
cut and trust in the game, and that. And I do
and
know
even
some
the game,
Shamrock Rovers fans that thought Derry were a little bit safe, which is interesting, actually. But how can you be
even,
safe when you're 1-0 down since the 7th minute, if you
even
get
the
me?
game in the Brandywell was humdingerish. Like as I say, for 55 minutes, Derry were had the better chances. Obviously, that came from mistakes that Rovers were making, but Derry were forcing them into that them kind
Mm,
of mistakes. Um, Derry probably happy enough, as you say, well, not happy enough, but
mm,
as you say, they were safe,
mm,
played fairly safe. It's a hard one to understand.
mm,
But I think if Shamrock Rovers had been top of the league,
mm,
Derry might have approached it differently. The fact that Derry were ahead of them,
mm.
they maybe took it on a wee bit um, more cautious. But look, you can't look back. You have to look forward. I
Yeah.
know Derry are, over the last couple of seasons have missed these several opportunities. They
Mm,
create a gap between themselves and Shamrock Rovers, and they just seem to miss it every time. And it's just about can they eventually do it? Like they Shelbourne, to be fair to them, have opened up that 4 point gap
yeah.
again that was once there. Um, and that's kind of results that Derry need to start doing if they want to win the league. Because I know it's a 3 year plan for Derry. This is the third of it, and I think it won't look well on Rory Higgins if Shamrock Rovers don't win the league this year
Mm,
and Derry don't win the league. I think that's where it won't look too good. But if Derry don't win the league and Shamrock Rovers do, it will be an opportunity missed because we had several opportunities to go front. But it'll be an even bigger opportunity missed if Shamrock Rovers don't win the league and Shelbourne do. And that's to be no disrespectful to Shelbourne. But if Shamrock Rovers are off it, Derry are off it, fair play to them. I think when Shamrock Rovers are off it, you have to really put them to bed, and Derry are
mm.
failing to do that at the minute in title races. But look, still still 18 games to go, still pretty much early days, and I keep saying it. It's going to be probably the lowest points tally to win the league this year. I've said it for a few weeks now, and I still believe it. So, look, there's 3, 4 matches left now between now and Europe before there's month, the domestic football break for the European teams. So all four of them will be wanting to go into that as strongly as possible, and no more so than starting on Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. As I said, good result for Shamrock Rovers, good performance, and from their point of view, they'd be hoping to go on a bit of a run now. But Richmond Park finished St Patrick's Day 1, Shelbourne 2, and mayhem and drama in this one. Boyd on 14 minutes with a very good header. Mulroney in 73 for Pat's equalised with a ridiculous free kick. I don't think Allison's saving that one, JP, is he? And Caffrey scenes at the end when Caffrey scores the 6 minute of injury time to give Shels all 3 points. And from Shels' point of view, a win like that, and they gain really with Shamrock Rovers winning as such, don't they? Because they've extended their lead ahead of Derry. And when they get wins like this, JP, and sometimes they've got points like this as well this season, big moments, big games, it only enhances their belief that they can go on and win the title. And you touched on it a second ago, because you said it could be the lowest, it probably will be the lowest points total this year. And that gives a team that's unfancied a better chance of winning it. Leicester City win the Premier League, for example, a few years ago, had a very low total. So, and I'm not saying, saying Shelbourne are a bad side. That's not the point at all. But at the start of the season, nobody, including Shelbourne fans, were choosing them to win the league. But if Derry remain inconsistent, if Shamrock Rovers remain inconsistent, and if Shelbourne keep picking up results like this, and it does amazing for your confidence and belief the way they win it, they really do have a chance. And if nobody else picks up a consistent run, the teams are expected to do so, then Shels have a genuine chance of winning this title. And it's a fantastic victory for them. And look, they'll be bouncing into the game in Tallaght Stadium on Friday.
They will be. It's a different kettle of fish, really, isn't it, going to Tallaght? Shamrock Rovers will be coming in there on a high as well because of the result that they got. I think we touched upon it a few weeks ago that Shelbourne have to stay in front if they're going to win it, and I think they're probably
still doing that, aren't they?
They probably realise that as a group themselves that if Derry or Rovers get in front of them, it's probably going to be hard to catch. So their aim is just to stay in front. Nobody's being consistent, but the one team that have been consistent over a period of time this season was Shelbourne. Drew the first game, won 6 in a row, and then they went on 1 win and 9. That's 2 in a row now for them. Sean Boyd scored in the last 3 or 4 games, I think. He scored a late equaliser at the Brandywell. Then he scored the winner against Waterford.
Equaliser against Drogheda.
Equaliser
earlier on in the
Drogheda.
season, a late equaliser against Drogheda. So he seems to be scoring important goals, isn't he? Putting them either one up or equalising or something.
Yeah, he is, and that's crucial for. And I don't when I say a team like Shelbourne, I'm not being disrespectful. For a team like Shelbourne that maybe don't have the quality of Shamrock Rovers do or Derry do from the bench, that when you've got a striker that can do that, and I touched on it the other week. Mark Coyle was key to them, keeping him fit, keeping him in suspension free, and Sean Boyd's just equally as important. He's a big presence. Defenders don't like playing against him, and he's not just a big target man. He can do other stuff as well. As you've seen the goal he scored against Waterford.
His link-up play can be really, really good as well. Really good.
He received the ball in defeat and he turned and found the bottom corner. And last night it was a great header at the back post. So I think, it will be the lowest points total, which will help Shelbourne. But I think that they need to continue to stay in front. A big one on Friday night. And if they come out of that one unscathed, it will
enhance belief further.
It will enhance belief further, but you start to have to look at them and say, well, you know what? They are in this title race. And I have said it for a few weeks that they are. But if they come out of Shamrock Rovers unscathed on Friday night, then
thinking they could actually win it.
Don't think you can look beyond them. I don't think you can look beyond them. Um, but yeah, they'll be delighted. Great finish from Evan Caffrey. Pat's a bit disappointed
Yeah.
that they didn't track the runner.
Mm.
And then I think can't mind who made the run in the box, but he's able to pick his pass and
It might be
nobody gets a
Wilson.
block on it.
I think it was Wilson.
No,
I
no,
think.
nobody gets a block on it. Doesn't close him down. He finds the bottom corner.
Mm.
Great finish from his point of view. Um, Mulroney with a great free kick to get passed back in it. And at that point, Pats are probably thinking, well, we can go win this. There's still 20 minutes of the game left. They didn't do that. And I think Stephen Kenny, he couldn't have asked for a tougher opening two fixtures. You could say three fixtures because he has to go to Bohemians on Friday night as well. So
I
it
think
is
what
off
it
the
is,
back of the.
JP, from their point of view and Kenny's point of view, he's coming on Thursday. They've had a match on Friday against Derry and they've had a match on Monday. I was speaking to someone earlier on. It's the last thing you needed a match on Friday and Monday, wasn't it? Really, like he needs a couple of days at least on the training ground. There's a couple of things, I don't think fitness levels are that high. I've mentioned that before. The squad is a bit imbalanced. They're lacking a lot of confidence as well. I think that goal comes from probably a lack of confidence from their point of view and a little bit of panic, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But
I
look,
think
I,
I think
I honestly don't. I wouldn't be, from Pat's point of view, I wouldn't be that concerned as such. But it's going to take a little bit of time, and to come in that soon and have bang bang matches like that, it actually doesn't help you in reality.
no, it doesn't. Um, I thought the opening 15 minutes on Friday night was what we expected. The Pats would come out of the blocks and try and
Mm.
make an impression on the new manager, and they did that without really laying a glove on Derry. And after 15 minutes, Derry just took the sting out of the game, managed the game well, had a few chances in the first half. Second half didn't really come to life until Derry had made the subs. Duffield and McElhinney on. Still needed McJanet to clear one off the line, but I think some Pats give Derry far too much space in
Oh yeah,
midfield, and
yeah.
especially Patrick McElhinney allowed him to pick the pass. And I think they're all standing watching, waiting on the offside flag to open. It didn't.
I think
And
the two centre halves play the offside well, but the one of the full backs, or it might have been even Mulroney, believe it or not, plays them on.
yeah, one of them did anyway, because you can see it that just as McMullen makes his run, there's a wing back or winger
By the way, it
deeper
must be
than him.
really horrible for centre back pairing to get the offside right and realise one of the full backs is playing them on. That must be very frustrating, by the way.
Well, that's what the training ground's for. So it is, and that's what your number one centre half is there for. He's there to get the line up, to make sure that the line is where it should be. Yeah, more often than not,
Hmm.
there is defenders that maybe drop in slightly or drop in drastically. But like I think Pats have lost 7 games prior to Stephen Kenny. They've lost now two under him. They won't be worried about that. He would have been brought in and said, look, get us in the top four, else win us the cup again, and that's what
I
his
wouldn't be
target
even
will be.
concerned, JP, and I actually said this before any of the games. Even if they didn't get into Europe this year, I don't think it's very relevant, to be honest with you, because he has the pull of getting players in and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't think it's a
It's
disaster if they don't get into Europe 1 year, to be honest with you.
disagree, Keith.
Do you
I
think so?
disagree. I disagree. Um,
They're a good bit off, though,
yeah,
JP. They're a good
yeah,
bit off.
Kenny, yeah, Kenny will have the pull factor and all that there, but
Mm,
I think if it comes to maybe a Shamrock Rovers going for a player or St. Pat's going for a player,
mm.
and Shamrock Rovers can offer Champions League and St. Pat's can't.
But
I
that's
don't care.
JP where the Kenny thing may come into effect
I
because
don't care. I don't care who the manager is.
no,
You're
but
not.
what I mean by that is, I'll tell you what I mean by that is
Might
he
quite
might
possibly
have a
be.
few players up his sleeve that other clubs mightn't be looking at, is what I mean.
It might quite possibly be that if he was competing with Derry for a player, he might get it on the basis of
Mm,
people would maybe rather live in Dublin as opposed to
mm,
the Derry. He
maybe.
might get it on that factor,
Mm,
but when it comes to two Dublin teams competing for a player, you say there he might have a player up his sleeve or somebody they know some international system. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah,
But
that's what I'm thinking,
when
maybe
you're
more so.
when you're when you're in Europe,
Mm.
you can offer a player
Mm.
a different type of football, or a different. But we seen what he did with Dundalk. He started off with players that maybe like Zabray and
Mm.
Portadown, etc. Didn't want. He gelled them into a team, and within 2 years, they'd won the league. And I think
Yeah.
that's what if they don't make Europe, that's what
Yeah.
they will have to hope happens. But it doesn't always happen that way. He took over Shamrock Rovers when they weren't in Europe,
Mm.
and he was sacked within 9 months.
Mm.
So look, I think a club like Pats, for the money that they're spending or they have spent, that they potentially want to spend under Kenny, they need to be in Europe, and
Mm.
I think that's what his target will be. He's been told to forget about the league title, get us into the top four, win us the cup this season, and then we'll build on next year. But I think
Mm.
you're saying there that Europe doesn't really matter. I think for a club like Pats, it does.
Mm.
And look, Pats fans might disagree with me,
Probably
but
disagree with me, but anyway.
it's I think it's 9, 10 games. 9, 10 games now they've lost in the opening 18,
Not
which
good.
is very, very disappointing. But as
Yeah.
I said about winning the title, probably going to be the lowest points total. You're probably not going to need a lot to finish in the top four.
Mm. But
When you look
again,
at
you'll
what
need a run. You'll still need a run.
need a run,
Yeah.
you'll need a run. And
Mm.
there's no doubt that when Kenny things settle down, like coming up, I think there's another Friday Monday sequence before Europe. Um, and the start of the July is when they break off for Europe. St.
Mm.
Pat's, I think, don't play until the later on in July, so they're
Mm.
not finishing domestically straight into Europe. They're given a couple of weeks break, so
Which is
that'll
probably
give
what they
Kenny a
need,
chance.
really, JP, to be honest.
Yeah,
With Kenny,
probably do.
yeah.
And but I think you'll probably see I've seen signs on Friday night of what Stephen Kenny might want to implement,
Mm.
but he needs to get the fitness
Mm.
and stuff like that sorted first,
Mm.
because we've seen that when he was a Dundalk manager, they were the fittest team in the league, and you could see it. They do, and that's, I think, one thing for Stephen Kenny is all about fitness,
Yeah,
and I think that's probably
absolutely.
why it didn't work at the FAI, because
Mm.
players were coming from different clubs with different styles, and their fitness levels probably wasn't what it needed to be an 11. So I think he's suited the club management. He's definitely suited the League of
League of
Ireland
Ireland,
management. We know that.
absolutely.
So look, Pats will in the long run will be okay.
Mm.
We know that. But for Shelbourne, they probably see this as a once in a once not in a once in a lifetime, because they obviously won the league and it's said before. But for this group of players, they probably see this as one opportunity to get it right, and so far they are.
Absolutely. Speaking of one of Kenny's former clubs, and the main one, if you like, Dundalk. Obviously, they won on Friday night 1-0 against Shamrock Rovers. There's been a lot of surprising results this season, JP. For me, this one surprised me the most. John Mountney's goal in the last minute, absolute mayhem. To be fair, at Oriel Park. And look, you have to be happy for Dundalk fans because, look, you come on, you criticise the club, and rightfully so. What can you do? But it's great to actually say that they won and they beat a good side in doing it. And a player like John Mountney, who's had serious injury issues, hasn't he, in the last number of years, to come back and essentially be a leader in that team and to score a goal like that, fantastic for him as well. Absolutely brilliant. And I think with a couple of minutes to go, we will talk about Drogheda later, but Drogheda were 7 or 8 points ahead of Dundalk with a couple of minutes to go, and there's only 3 in it now. It's crazy that, like, you know. But what a win for Dundalk. And it's been a weird week because since we were last on, obviously with the Gartland stuff, which we touched on, but obviously he has left the club. Noel King has left the club already. And Brian Ainscough was having a go at someone on Twitter, which was remarkable for a chairman of a football club, if I'm honest with you. Could you imagine
Yeah,
Garrett Kelleher or Philip Doherty coming out on Twitter? You'd be
that
laughing.
was
Like that was remarkable. So maybe
a.
we'll get some of the negativity out of the way first before we talk about the good things about them.
I thought that was a parody, to be honest.
So did
When I
I.
saw that,
I was
and
digging for about a half an hour to try and make sure it was
then
him.
I realized that it wasn't
Yeah,
a parody, and it was him, and it's quite um
I was stunned, if I'm
quite
honest.
quite idiotic, I think. To be honest, he done a lot of winning over the fans early on with the fans forum and whatever came out of that. But
And it's not as if
things
the
on.
guy on Twitter had said anything really, really bad. He just called to try and
No,
get Kenny back in. It wasn't like you're
yeah.
a this or you're a that to him or anything. So that was bizarre as well, his response.
Since that fans forum where he opened up to the fans and said we would do this, we'd do that. Everything's gone wrong on the pitch, off the pitch. It's just exploding. On social media, it's kicking off as well. And look, it was a negative week for Dundalk. Twice this season, I've tipped them to get heavily beaten by Shamrock Rovers, and they've taken 4 points off them. Now, you said it was a surprising result. Yes, a surprising result, but I watched the last 20 minutes of this game because it was a delayed kickoff. So when the Derry game was over, I put this game on, and I only sensed there was one winner in the game, and it was Dundalk. Shamrock Rovers didn't offer a lot.
Mm.
I don't think Leon Pauls was busy in that 20-minute spell that I watched, but you always felt that there was one chance for Dundalk, and they got it. A great bit of play down the right hand side. I think it may have been Darrell Horgan put the ball in, and Durant goes for the overhead,
Mm.
completely misses it. And to be fair to Mountain, he finishes it brilliantly, keeps his body over the ball and strikes it well. And a great winner for Dundalk, probably came at the right time. I think if it comes maybe 5-10 minutes earlier, maybe Rovers hit back
Maybe,
and get an equaliser. And
maybe.
they couldn't do it. They held on, and as you say, they're now only 3 points behind Drogheda, where with at one stage it was looking like they were going to be 8 or 7 or 8, whatever it was.
It's a massive
But
win
it
for
was
them. Bizarrely, JP, they've kept 5 clean sheets in a row at Oriel Park.
when I heard that stat, I thought it was unbelievable stat. I think before that it was 5 or 6 games without scoring a
Without it.
goal. So they have that at Oriel Park. Well, no, Oriel Park was a tough place to go,
Mm.
especially under Stephen Kenny. And Rovers would have been hurt by that result, and that's probably why they came out of the blocks early against Derry last night and took a game to Derry and made sure that they weren't going to lose this because they'd already lost to Waterford. But for Dundalk, they need stability now. Like as we touched on there, they were close to going 8 points adrift and looking ominous that they were heading for relegation. They're only 3 points. They need to identify a manager, head coach, whatever they want to call him, identify their target, get him in the door as early as possible, give him a chance, get him to the July window, still him with a chance, bring in players that he wants or needs, and let's see if they can make a fist of staying in the division. Um, but that was them sequence of results on Friday night has certainly helped the new man. But what Brian Ainscough has to do now, instead of picking fights on Twitter, is to get the right man in the door and get this team and give these fans something that they deserve, because at the end of the day, he owns the club, but the fans will still be there long after he leaves. And he needs to remember that and don't be picking fights and get them on side, keep them on side, and do whatever it takes to get to get your manager that you want in the door. I thought Brett Noel King at the time it happening, I thought that was a piss take as well, and it turned out that it
Mm.
wasn't. Now we don't know the circumstances behind his health issues
Mm.
or whatever, and hopefully everything's okay in that
Mm.
sense.
Yeah.
So it's a few weeks now to let you don't want to be going another couple of weeks with nobody in the door. If Liam Burns is taking the club forward, then tell everybody he's taking the club forward. Give him the tools to do the job. Don't be asking to do it on a week to week basis.
Mm.
Um, just give those fans what they deserve, and is a stable club. And because they haven't had it for quite a few years now, probably since Stephen Kenny had left, it hasn't been stable. Maybe the first year under Vinnie Perth where they nearly won the treble, but a great win for them. As I said, they've taken 4 points off Shamrock Rovers this year, and they'll be delighted with that. I think they beat Bows as well at home. That's another great result. They just want to try and put a wee run together now, and um, yeah, fantastic win for them.
Yeah, Weavers Park, Drogheda United 2, Galway United 3. First of all, I did not expect 5 goals in this fixture. Second of all, an absolute disaster for Drogheda United. And third of all, fantastic for Galway. Slevin gave them an early lead at 4 minutes. Evan Weir with a free kick on 24. Bawa on 73. Maurice Nugent, a minute into injury time. And Stephen Walsh, another important goal, to say the least, for Galway. 4 minutes in the injury time, giving them all 3 points. Before we talk about Galway, we're just after talking about Dundalk, so we have to talk about Drogheda. And they must have been sick to discover, because this was finished before Dundalk was finished. So, you know what I mean? To lose 2 goals like that and lose the game, not get a point even out of the game, and then to realise...
I think with the Evan Weir injury, it had led the Drogheda game close to the Dundalk game in terms of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was, where was I? I was in Richmond on Friday, so yeah, I kind of wasn't really noticing what was going on elsewhere, if you get me.
I could be wrong, but I'm nearly sure just before Dundalk had taken the lead, I think it come through that Galway had taken the lead, but it was not too much time in terms of distance between the 2 goals.
Could you imagine though? Could you imagine, like, at least Dundalk will draw the game. Next thing, Melty scores the winner. Sickening, and it could be a big turnaround. It could be one of those where you look at the end of the season and that was pivotal, that whole situation, you know, and you know, a disaster for Drogheda really in that kind of way. And look, you'd be absolutely sick. For Galway, unbeaten in 8. It's incredible. 4th in the league. The 3 goals they scored on Friday night is 25% of their goals this season.
I'm not surprising. I think we may have touched upon it a few weeks ago that potential for a Galway game day to go a 5-goal thriller, but with I think we were just sort of joking about that or whatever. But I think this is the type of game that you would expect of a Drogheda result to be on the right end of, not on the wrong end. But it just shows you that when the chips are down, that Galway can produce a result, and it's not just a boring 0-0 or a 1-0 smash and grab. That they can actually
3-2 smash and grab.
Yeah, they can actually put up a fight and really go for it. And they took the lead in this game as well, so they'd be disappointed that they were 2-1 down going on the stoppage time, and they'd be absolutely delighted that they've come out of it with all 3 points. And
how far can they go now? I mean, I'm looking at them in the table here, staring at them. They're in 4th and 24 points, and they've got 2 games in hand in Shelbourne, Derry, and Shamrock Rovers. Hypothetically, they'll add to that, like, you know.
Well, I did say a few weeks ago that they were my potential tip for outsider for the top 4, especially if Pats don't hit the ground running under Kenny and maybe take a few weeks or months to get going. You're looking at one team that could potentially sneak into that top 4, and hopefully that would be enough to get them into Europe, because it's not a guaranteed top 4 or top European spot. But as I said about Shelbourne and winning the league, there's no reason why they can't, because they've got that belief within the squad that they can keep going right to the end. And Galway do have the same belief in their squad, and it was a fantastic win for them. As I said, like we were questioning whether they can win them type of matches that are going to go beyond 1 goal or no goals, and a great win. And as I said, the 2 biggest assets is the 2 guys on the sideline for them, because I don't think man for man.
You'd wonder what they do, JP, if you know what I mean. Like, how do they seem to get the best out of every squad they're involved in? Horgan done it for years with Finn Harps, as we know. Caulfield went toe-to-toe with Stephen Kenny's Dundalk. And I know he had a better squad than this Galway squad, I get that. But at the same time, I'd argue that Dundalk squad was a bit stronger now, to say the least. You know what I mean? And they did get a couple of cups and a league out of it and challenged them when nobody else was. So I wonder, how did they do it? How did they do it? You'd wonder, you know.
Well, I think that's a question for somebody that has played.
A lot of managers probably saying the same thing.
For the man themselves, like, how do they do it?
I don't think they tell us.
They wouldn't. Like, you would look at England as well, and maybe how does Sean Dyche do it? Like, he's did it with Burnley. He overachieved with Burnley for years, and now he's kept Everton afloat despite everything off the field. So there is these type of characters
Yeah,
that can that can perform under adversity or under
they seem to be the type of
um
managers as well that
no
I don't
pressure on
know.
them as well. I think there's
Hmm?
no pressure on
Mm,
them. That helps.
mm,
So they're going out on their game and they're not fearing the result.
mm,
Um, and the backlash off the back of it, I think that probably helps as well. And they pass that down on to the players that there's nothing to lose in these type of fixtures, and they have done absolutely brilliant. And look,
mm.
I don't know, can they keep going? I, I don't think they'll lose very many games between over the next. Let's say they're eight unbeaten.
Mm.
They'll lose a few games between now and the end of the season, but they won't lose a raft of games that will put them in danger of having to
I don't think
avoid
so.
the relegation spots.
Do you think that result will hurt Drogheda psychologically, or do you think they Kevin
I
Doherty will get them
think
to bounce back?
I think it might hurt them for a week or two, but I think eventually they'll put it out of their system. There was a few weeks ago they played Dundalk and they'd lost that game. They were going to they were going to end up on bottom of the table. So they found themselves in a position where they went from potentially being bottom to going 8 points clear of bottom. They now being within 3 points.
Mm.
That is where it could play on their mind. But I think they'll get a few games under the belt, pick up maybe dig out a result here or there, and um get themselves going again. I've no doubt because Kevin Doherty does seem to get the best out of his squad as well, especially in games like that.
So finish at the showground, Sligo Rovers 0, Bohemians 3, a big win for the away side here. Clark gave them an early lead after 2 minutes, got them off to a great start. Keisha and 35, and Dale Rooney after some woeful defending from Sligo, I have to say. But Rooney finishes brilliantly. It was just the defending was woeful in the lead up to the goal, if you like. Um, big win for Bows. Their first win in they went, what was it, a point in 4 games? I think I seem
Yeah,
to remember. So
first
the
one
first
in five.
first win of 5 as a result, and I suppose keeps them in the running for that fourth place, JP, and Reynolds would be delighted with the 3 points here. Sligo, it's all kind of falling apart for them, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we thought it would do. Once injury and suspensions hit, they find themselves 3 points above Drogheda. I think at one stage they were level going into that game, weren't they? Like so, but they or no, sorry, they were 3 points
There were still
above going
three
into that
points. It
game.
could have been worse because Drogheda could have
At,
won that game.
at
Like,
one
yeah,
point, Drogheda were clawing
yeah.
that gap back.
Mm.
But they will be relieved that they've seen the defeat that they've had. They'll be relieved they see that um Drogheda have also lost. They'll not be as relieved to see that Dundalk have won because there's only 6 points between them and bottom of the table. So it's looking like it's going to be a competitive league from top to bottom this year, and no team's going to get cut adrift or run away with it. And
Do you
um,
see them three though? Without getting too much into Drogheda and Dock, but from Sligo's perspective, especially, do you see anyone finishing below those three? Any of those three, I should say.
no, not from what I've seen of Galway
Mm.
and Waterford this season. I think Pats will have enough under Stephen Kenny eventually. They move
Probably
away.
should, yeah.
Um, Alan Reynolds, it seems to be one step forward, 3 steps back for him at Bowes. But I think when he gets
Mm.
in the July window, they've already made a signing already. Jake Carroll,
Mm.
the Pats about 10 years ago,
Mm.
or maybe more.
Mm.
Once he starts to get his own players in the door, and get working with them, I think they will continue to push up the league. They're only a point behind Galway, I think. So,
Yeah, they
uh,
are, yeah.
I see them as the bottom three.
Mm.
I don't see Galway losing. As I touched on before, I don't see Galway losing a raft of matches that's going to get them sucked in because for them to lose matches, those three have to win them as well at the same time. They suck Galway in, and I don't see that happening. I think Waterford, as we've seen, they've gone to Tala and won 3-1 there. I know they lost to Shelbourne on Friday night, but they still have quality on the pitch that they can get results in our games,
Yeah.
and I think eventually they will do. Sligo, like they've lost Max Mata now. It's not as big a loss as it was potentially this time last year. Rumor that they're hanging on to McGinty, which is crucial because um, if you've got a good goalkeeper, then you don't be as reliant on your striker, but you still need somebody to put the ball in the net.
Would you rule them
But
out of bottom though completely?
Sligo,
Mm,
no,
no, either would I.
no.
No.
I
I think
think
if Dundalk
if I'm
did
not
pick up a bit of something,
if I'm not mistaken, Sligo was one of the teams that we tipped to be in the bottom two. I think I tipped them to in the bottom two. I think you maybe tipped them to be bottom. But these were three teams that we genuinely couldn't decide where we were going to put them.
mm,
I think we threw Waterford and Galway into that too as well. But
I actually
I think
Galway
these,
bottom, believe it or not.
I think I possibly had Sligo at bottom. Um, I didn't expect Dundalk to be as bad as they were, but I would not rule Sligo out of being bottom, especially if Dundalk can get the managerial appointment right this
Mm.
time and not just bring somebody in because he's friends with the owner.
I
I
think
think if they
Sligo's
do,
issue at the moment, JP, in the last number of weeks, especially, they seem to be easily beaten a lot of the time. Like they were beaten well by Bohemians here, and Bohemians haven't been on form. You know what I mean?
but it seems to be that teams get well beaten and then they come up to play against Derry and they don't get well beaten.
Apart from
So
Pats, that is.
yeah, well, four in a row, Pats have lost against Derry, including
Yeah,
three this
three
year.
this
So,
season. Yeah.
um, so
Can't
they're
play them every week, unfortunately, JP.
no, we can't. Sligo are coming to Brandywell on Friday, so they
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how Derry can perform in that game.
Mm.
Um, Sligo, I think
Do you think
if
John
you've
Russell's
managed
under pressure? And he seems to be under pressure all the time,
doesn't
if that makes sense.
seem he seems to be under pressure from the likes of us
But not, he
who
doesn't
think
seem to
he
be under
should be
pressure from the club, doesn't he not?
he seems to be under pressure from the likes of us who think he should be under pressure.
I wonder
But
what the fans think, because I haven't been at a Sligo game
I think the
recently.
fans are
Yeah.
fairly accepting of where they are. I think I don't see a lot of negativity from the fans in terms of the manager. I think
I'm sure there is, but I suppose I'm talking about the match going
never
fans. Is there booing at games? Or maybe someone can tell us actually in the comments. Was there any reaction to the defeat of Bows? I don't know, you know?
whenever there's a bad result for Sligo, there doesn't seem to be a
Mm,
negative reaction on social media.
mm,
Towards the manager,
mm,
things there's things like yeah could play better, but
mm.
at the end of the day, we are where we are. I think Sligo fans have accepted that this is probably the year that they need to be calm and not get
They're a
too
good
over
club,
dramatic
though, aren't they?
on
They're a
things.
good club. They're a good
They are,
community-based club.
they
It's a
deserve to be,
nice ground as well. I like the show. And most people like the showgrounds, don't they?
and they deserve to be at the Premier Division. They deserve to be probably competing at the middle, the top end of it. Unfortunately, sometimes that can't always happen, and they are looking at
At least
by
staying
their
there.
100th anniversary.
Mm,
Their 100th anniversary, they are looking at turning the showgrounds into this brilliant new stadium, which would be brilliant for the league. So maybe is there a bit of cost cutting at the playing side of it? They
mm.
maybe try and see that thing through, that project through. We don't know, but I don't think he's under pressure as much as we think that he should be. Um, but I don't see them. To answer your question, I don't rule out them finishing bottom of the table.
Mm.
Um,
Or do I?
I think if they can pick up a couple of wins against the likes of Drogheda and Dundalk, I think that's what they'll need. Um, because I think Drogheda and Dundalk seem to be able to pick up points against the teams further up the table. Where Sligo, I'm going to say this, but they don't seem to be able to do that. Could come back to bite me Friday night. I hope it doesn't. But um, it's I'm sure Sligo fans probably realise themselves as well that they are in a dogfight, and that's why they're being patient with the manager because they get through something like this. You need to stick together, and
Mm.
um, as you say, they're a great club, great community club, and I hope they do. I hope they do get themselves out of it. But it's going to be, as I said earlier, it's going to be an interesting division from top to bottom, right to the very end.
Mm. Brilliant, JP. We'll leave it there. Waterford fans, by the way, we'll talk about you more in the prediction show. Obviously, they 1-0 defeat against Shelbourne on Friday, but we'll talk about them more in the prediction show. We'll leave it there. Subscribe at home. And thanks for watching. Thanks, JP.
Cheers, Steve.